When my rent was 3 weeks overdue, my beautiful landlady invited me to her penthouse to discuss payment options. The arrangement she proposed had nothing to do with money. Welcome to Secret Stories, where hidden confessions and forbidden moments come to life. Make sure to like this video and subscribe to join our community of secret keepers. My name is Mason, and I'm 24 years old. I work as a graphic designer for a small marketing agency in Chicago, and until 4 months ago, I thought I had my life under control. That financial security lasted until my company lost 2 major clients and had to cut everyone's hours by 30%. Suddenly, my rent became a constant source of stress. My apartment is in a converted warehouse building that's been transformed into luxury lofts. The building is owned by Whitmore Properties, a real estate investment company that owns half the residential buildings in downtown Chicago. By the third month, I was 3 weeks behind on rent and had exhausted every option I could think of. That's when I received a phone call that made my stomach drop. "Mr. Chen," the voice on the other end said when I answered. It was professional, authoritative, with just a hint of a sophisticated accent I couldn't place. "This is Elena Whitmore. I own the building where you live. We need to discuss your overdue rent immediately. Elena Whitmore." I'd heard the name before. She was something of a legend in Chicago real estate circles, known for buying undervalued properties and transforming them into highly desirable developments. She was also, according to the gossip I'd heard from other tenants, incredibly successful, intimidatingly intelligent, and remarkably beautiful for a woman in her mid-40s. "Miss Whitmore," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "I know I'm behind on rent. I've been having some financial difficulties with work, but I'm expecting to catch up soon." "How soon?" she asked, and there was something in her tone that was firm but not unkind. "I'm hoping within the next 2 weeks," I said, though honestly I had no idea where the money was going to come from. "Mr. Chen, you're a good tenant. You've never been late before this recent period. You take care of your apartment, and you don't cause problems for your neighbors. I appreciate that. But 3 weeks overdue is a significant issue, and I can't let it continue indefinitely." My heart sank. This was the conversation I'd been dreading, the one that would end with an eviction notice and the complete destruction of my housing situation. "However," she continued, "I believe in working with tenants when possible rather than immediately resorting to legal action. Would you be available to meet with me tomorrow evening to discuss possible solutions?" The relief I felt was overwhelming. "Yes, absolutely. Should I come to your office?" "No, let's meet somewhere more comfortable and private. I live in the penthouse of your building. Come to the top floor tomorrow at 7 o'clock. We'll discuss your situation and see if we can work out an arrangement that benefits both of us." The next evening, I took the elevator to the top floor of my building for the first time since moving in. I'd always wondered what the penthouse looked like. It occupied the entire top floor of the building, with panoramic views of the Chicago skyline that had to be worth millions. When the elevator doors opened directly into Elena's apartment, I was struck first by the space itself. Floor-to-ceiling windows, modern furniture that managed to be both sophisticated and comfortable, and artwork that looked like it belonged in a museum. But what really captured my attention was Elena herself. She was even more beautiful than I'd imagined. Mid-40s with platinum blonde hair in elegant waves, bright blue eyes, and timeless sophistication that comes from confidence and success. She wore a cream-colored silk blouse and dark slacks, carrying herself with the grace of someone completely comfortable in her own skin. "Mason," she said, extending her hand with a warm smile. "Thank you for coming. I appreciate your willingness to discuss this situation constructively." "Thank you for giving me the opportunity," I said, shaking her hand and trying not to be overwhelmed by how put together she seemed, compared to my obvious financial stress. "Please sit down," she said, gesturing toward a comfortable seating area near the windows. "Can I offer you something to drink? Water, coffee, wine?" "Whatever you're having," I said, settling onto the sofa and looking around at the incredible view of the city. She poured 2 glasses of red wine from a bottle that probably cost more than I made in a week and sat down across from me. Her movements were graceful, confident, and I found myself wondering how someone becomes so self-assured and successful by their mid-40s. "So," she said, settling back in her chair and regarding me thoughtfully, Tell me about your situation. What happened with your work? For the next 15 minutes, I explained everything. My company losing clients, my reduced hours, my attempts at freelance work. Elena listened intently, asking thoughtful questions without making me feel judged about my financial difficulties. That's a challenging situation, she said when I'd finished explaining, but also temporary from what you've described. You're talented, you're motivated, and you're actively working to improve your circumstances. Those are all positive indicators. I hope so, I said. I really love living in this building, and I don't want to have to move if I can avoid it. What if I told you that you didn't have to move? She asked, leaning forward slightly. What do you mean? What if I told you that there might be alternative arrangements we could make regarding your rent payments, at least temporarily while you get back on your feet financially? I felt a surge of hope. What kind of arrangements? Elena was quiet for a moment, seeming to consider her words carefully. When she spoke, her voice was softer, more personal than it had been during our business discussion. Mason, I'm going to be completely honest with you about something, and I hope you'll hear me out before making any judgments. Okay, I said, though something about her tone made my heart rate increase. I'm 45 years old. I've built a successful business, I own properties worth millions of dollars, and I have more financial security than I'll ever need. But what I don't have is companionship, connection, or someone to share my success with. She walked to the window, looking out at the city lights. I've been married twice. Both marriages ended because my career intimidated my husband's, or they were more interested in my money than in me. For 3 years, I've been single and lonely. Over the past few months, I've noticed you around the building. You're kind, intelligent, and remarkably mature for your age. She turned back to face me, and there was something different in her expression, vulnerability alongside the confidence I'd seen before. What I'm about to propose might sound unconventional, but I want you to consider it seriously. What if, instead of paying traditional rent, you provided companionship? Escort services, if you will, accompanying me to business dinners, social events, cultural activities. Someone to talk to spend time with, to make me feel less isolated. The suggestion hung in the air between us. I stared at her, trying to process what she was offering. Elena, I started to say, but I wasn't sure how to respond. I know it sounds unusual, she said quickly, and I want to be clear about what I'm suggesting and what I'm not suggesting. This would be a professional arrangement with clear boundaries. You would provide companionship and social support, and in exchange, I would cover your rent and provide you with an additional monthly stipend. What kind of boundaries? I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. Whatever boundaries you're comfortable with, she said. If all you're willing to offer is conversation and public appearances, that would be valuable to me. If our relationship were to develop into something more personal over time, that would be based on mutual interest and attraction, not on the terms of our arrangement. I looked at Elena standing there in her beautiful apartment, offering me a solution to my financial problems while also admitting to loneliness and vulnerability that I never would have suspected. She was incredibly attractive, obviously intelligent, and clearly successful. The idea of spending time with her was appealing in ways that went beyond just solving my rent problem. Can I ask why me? I said. You could have companionship from any number of men who are more established, more sophisticated, more appropriate for someone in your position. She smiled at that, and for the first time since I'd arrived, she looked genuinely relaxed. Mason, do you know what's attractive about you? What? Your authenticity. You're genuine in a way that's rare among the men I typically encounter in business or social settings. You listen when people talk, you care about doing the right thing, and you don't seem to have any agenda beyond being a good person. That's incredibly appealing. She moved back toward the seating area, sitting down closer to me than she had been before. Also, she said with a slight smile, you're very handsome, and I've found myself attracted to you for weeks now. I just never imagined a situation where it would be appropriate to mention that. The admission sent a surge of excitement through me. Here was this successful, beautiful, sophisticated woman telling me she'd been attracted to me, offering me a way out of my financial difficulties, and suggesting an arrangement that could be as simple or as complex as we wanted it to be. What would you expect in terms of time commitment? I asked. Flexible. maybe 2 or 3 evenings per week, some weekend activities. Nothing that would interfere with your work or your personal life unless you wanted it to. And the financial arrangement? Your rent would be completely covered, plus a monthly stipend of $3,000 for your time in companionship. $3,000 plus free rent. That was more money than I was making at my current job, and it would completely solve my financial problems while giving me the stability to build my freelance design work. Elena, I said, this is incredibly generous, but I need to ask, what happens if this arrangement doesn't work out? What happens to my housing situation? If either of us decides the arrangement isn't working, we end it with a month's notice, and you continue living in your apartment under a normal lease at reduced rent for as long as you want. I wouldn't use housing as leverage to pressure you into anything you don't want to do. The fairness and thoughtfulness of her proposal was impressive. She'd clearly considered the power dynamics involved and was making an effort to protect me from feeling trapped or exploited. Can I think about it? I asked. Of course. Take all the time you need. But Mason, she said, reaching over to touch my hand gently, I hope you'll consider it seriously. I think we could be good for each other. The touch of her hand was electric. Her skin was soft, warm, and the gesture felt both innocent and charged with possibility. I will, I said. I promise I'll consider it seriously. I went home that night with my mind racing. The practical part of me recognized that Elena's offer solved all of my immediate problems and provided financial security I couldn't achieve any other way in the near term. But the personal part of me was intrigued by Elena herself, her intelligence, her vulnerability, her obvious attraction to me. I'd never been involved with a woman significantly older than me, never been in any kind of arrangement that blurred the lines between personal and professional. But I'd also never met anyone like Elena, someone who was successful and confident but also honest about her emotional needs. For 2 days, I thought about nothing else. I researched Elena online and found articles about her business success, photos of her at charity events and cultural activities, interviews where she discussed her approach to real estate investment. Everything I found reinforced my impression of her as intelligent, accomplished, and highly respected in her field. But more than her professional credentials, I found myself thinking about our conversation, about the vulnerability she'd shown me, about the way she'd touched my hand, about the possibility of exploring something with her that went beyond just a business arrangement. On Friday evening, I called her. Elena, I said when she answered, I've thought about your proposal. And? She asked, though I could hear hope in her voice. I'd like to accept it. I'd like to try this arrangement and see where it leads. The silence on the other end lasted long enough that I started to worry I'd misunderstood something. Elena? I'm here, she said, and I could hear the smile in her voice. I'm just very happy. When would you like to start? Whenever you'd like. There's a charity gala tomorrow night that I was planning to attend alone. Would you be interested in accompanying me? It would be a good introduction to the kind of events I typically attend. I'd love to, I said, though I immediately started worrying about whether I owned anything appropriate to wear to a charity gala. Excellent. I'll have my assistant arrange for appropriate formal wear to be delivered to your apartment tomorrow afternoon. The event starts at 7, so I'll pick you up at 6:30. That Saturday evening, I found myself in a perfectly tailored tuxedo, riding in the back of Elena's Mercedes toward one of Chicago's most exclusive hotels for an event that probably cost more per plate than I typically spent on food in a month. Elena looked absolutely stunning in a floor-length black gown that was elegant and sophisticated without being ostentatious. Her platinum hair was styled in an updo that showed off her graceful neck and the diamond earrings that caught the light every time she moved. You look very handsome, she said as we rode toward the event. How do you feel? Nervous, I admitted. I've never been to anything like this. You'll be fine, she said, reaching over to squeeze my hand. Just be yourself. People will like you. The gala was incredible. Elena moved through the crowd with confidence, introducing me as her companion, making conversation about art, business, and culture. She included me in discussions, making sure I felt valued rather than just decorative. You're a natural at this, Elena said during a quiet moment. People genuinely like you. The evening ended at Elena's penthouse, where we sat with wine, reviewing the night. "Thank you," she said as the night was winding down. "That was the most enjoyable event I've attended in years. Having you there, having someone to share the experience with, made everything more fun." "Thank you for including me," I said, "and for making me feel comfortable in a situation that could have been intimidating." She moved closer to me on the sofa, close enough that I could smell her perfume, could see the details of her face in the soft lighting. "Mason," she said softly, "I know our arrangement is supposed to be professional, but I need to tell you something." "What?" "I'm attracted to you. Very attracted to you. And tonight, seeing how well you handled yourself, how kind you were to everyone you met, how you made me feel proud to be with you, that attraction has become something stronger." My heart started racing. The evening had been building toward this moment, and I realized that my own feelings had been developing in the same direction. "I'm attracted to you too," I said. "I have been since the first night I came here." "So, what do we do about it?" she asked. "What do you want to do about it?" Instead of answering, she leaned forward and kissed me. It was soft, tentative at first, then more confident as I responded. When we broke apart, we were both breathing harder. "I want to explore this," she said. "I want to see where it leads, but I want you to know that it's not about our arrangement. If you weren't attracted to me, if this were just professional for you, I would respect that completely." "It's not just professional," I said. "Elena, you're incredible. You're intelligent, successful, beautiful, and you've been kinder to me than I had any right to expect. I want to explore this too." That night, we crossed the line from professional arrangement to personal relationship. Elena was confident and experienced in ways that were incredibly attractive, but also vulnerable and generous in ways that made every moment feel meaningful and real. That was 4 months ago. Elena and I have continued our arrangement, but it's evolved into something much more than either of us originally envisioned. We attend events together, travel together, and spend most evenings in each other's company. What started as a business transaction has become the most important relationship in my life. Elena helped me understand that connection and compatibility aren't always about age or conventional circumstances. She also taught me that financial security and emotional fulfillment can coexist in ways that benefit everyone involved, as long as the foundation is built on mutual respect and genuine care. My friends were initially surprised by our relationship, but they've seen how happy we make each other. My parents took time to accept it, but Elena's intelligence and affection for me won them over. We still get stares sometimes when we're out together, and I know some people make assumptions about our relationship, but we've learned not to care about strangers' opinions. What we have is real, meaningful, and built on much more than just financial convenience. That overdue rent notice was the best thing that ever happened to me. What started as a potential eviction became the foundation for a relationship that's taught me about maturity, sophistication, and the kind of partnership that's based on mutual support and genuine affection. Elena was right about one thing. Some debts can be paid in ways other than money. Sometimes the most valuable currency is companionship, care, and the willingness to build something meaningful together. If you have similar secrets or unexpected connections, share your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe to Secret Stories for more intimate confessions and hidden moments. Thanks for watching.